Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Twist Gaming. We are here coming to you live from Origins 2018 in Columbus, Ohio, bringing you some excellent convention coverage. I am rounding out our great evening of interviews with John from Indie Boards and Cards.
Hello, everybody.
And John has brought us some really neat games. One of them is a Gen Con release, which we are going to touch on a little later. But we're going to start off with
Shogunate.
Awesome.
Shogunate is our release here at Origins 2018. Actually, we had our pre-release of Shogunate at Geekway 2018. Geekway to the West in St. Louis, Missouri, just 2 weeks ago. Specifically. We gave out 3,000 free copies of Shogunate.
That's so many copies.
That's a ton of copies. It's a ton of copies. So
you were telling me something really interesting that Indie Boards and Cards was trying to do, or is going to be doing, with the Geekway to the West competition.
That's true. So Geekway to the West is a great convention, and in the convention, Indie Boards and Cards has been sponsoring a design contest. So designers before the convention are submitting games to us, and we get, man, this year we had about 200 designs that were submitted to us, and the criteria was roughly 30-minute playtime, has to fit in a resistance-sized box.
Okay.
That's it.
And then go wild.
And then go wild.
All right.
Go wild. And we had people who were trying to jam as many components into that box as possible. It was really fun. It was really fun. But what we're doing now is we have paired with Geekway and the design contest that the winner of the contest will have their game published by Indie Boards and Cards, and free copies will be given out as a pre-release in the Geekways in the future.
Excellent.
So this was our first Geekway contest winner that has been published. Adriana Zell was our first designer who won the contest. Shogunate is the first game. It is a social deduction game. Like I said, 3,000 copies were given out this year at Geekway, and it is now available at your friendly local game store or here at Origins.
Excellent. So tell me, what made this game a winner?
This game was a winner because it was using some really interesting mechanics. One that I particularly really like.
Okay.
It is an action selection game where your actions are denotated by the cards in your hand. Each player has their 6 cards.
Okay.
And every player has the same set of cards.
Okay.
On your turn, you're going to lay one face down in front of you, the one that you think you want to use. And the Hatamoto will choose each card after they've been revealed to resolve in order.
Okay.
You don't know when your card is going to resolve, so that's where the social deduction element comes into play. Another player will be choosing the order in which these cards are going to be resolving. You need to keep track of what other people are playing out of their hands, so you may have played your Cloaked in Shadows and Dishonor.
Right.
But I may need you to play your Flowing Upstream, or think you're going to play your Flowing Upstream, and because of that, think that the Hatamoto is going to choose you to go first. So it's just this line of logical thinking that was really interesting, because programmed actions like that and action selection are often predicated on the notion that we all know the order they're going to go.
Right.
Either clockwise around the table or some initiative the game is set up, but this takes the deduction and social element and puts it right into the gameplay, even for the programmed actions going off. So that was what really tantalized.
So all of our actions are going to be interdependent, and the effect of that is going to be determined based on which order these cards are going to be resolved in, which you have no control of who's going to be resolving them.
Correct.
Because the Hatamoto is going to do it.
Yes, the Hatamoto is going to do it. So it's a fun game.
Very cool. I mean, art is absolutely gorgeous. Tell me a little bit about that.
So the art is the same artist as Ku and the Resistance. It is Jarek Nakone. He is a beautiful artist. Well, excuse me, his art is beautiful.
He might be a beautiful person as well. A beautiful person with beautiful art.
Yes, beautiful art, as you can see on the table here.
I'm going to grab this big one here just to show it off a little.
The Viper Leader, she's a good-looking lady. I'm a big fan of also the Scorpion Leader. Is some really high-quality art.
Very cool.
So all of these pieces are representative of the different leaders of the clans in Shogunate. Thematically, Shogunate takes place in feudal Japan. The Shogun has died.
Oh no.
Oh
no.
So all of the clan leaders are trying to get themselves properly suited in the line of succession to try and take up that office.
Fair enough.
So on our table, actually, right here, we have the line of succession as stands.
Okay.
During the game, the different leaders will be gaining honor.
Okay.
Or they will be having their honor stripped away.
Okay.
So, during the course of the game, we'll have these different plot cards that will tell us where honor is going to be assigned at the end of the round.
Based on which position on this
line of succession.
Fantastic.
Exactly. So in this instance, if the round were to end right now, the dragon leader would gain 1 honor. The scorpion leader would gain 2 honor. The crane leader would lose 1 honor, but has none currently. The viper leader would gain 1, and nothing would happen down here with the tiger and wolf leaders. The game is ended, or the end game is triggered, when one combination of leaders has 12. This is a good time to point out that because it's a social deduction game, there is in fact hidden information.
Imagine that.
We do love hidden information at Indie Boards and Cards. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to be randomly assigned 2 leaders that you are allied with, and that you're trying to make them become honorable, and hopefully install one of them as the new Shogun.
Okay.
You're going to get these 2 cards. They're going to be face down in front of you. You might even have 2 of the exact same leader. There are 2 copies of each card that are played with.
Okay.
So you're going to be allies with at least somebody, but you need to figure out who.
Okay.
So you and I might be both working to get crane leader, where are you, crane leader? The crane leader to have as much honor as possible, but you want the dragon leader to have honor, and I want the wolf leader to have honor. So we have imperfect allies in the game.
Right.
And you need to try and find that information out on your own. The game is ended when I think that I have the most honor, and if I have at least 12, I can say, all right, I think I've got it, I think I win, I think I have the most honor, and I flip my cards. And if I did have the wolf and the viper clan leaders, and let's say one of them has 7, one of them has 6, I have 13 honor, I'm feeling really good about the win, but someone else was biding their time, waiting for somebody to flip when they actually have 15 honor. The game is not automatically ended when you have 12. You have the option to end the game when you have 12 honor. So it's a really fun game in that a lot of the nuanced deception comes from a mechanical standpoint. Which cards I'm going to play, what's left in my hand, though it's all augmented by the order that the Hatamoto is going to tell us our action cards are resolved in, and who I may or may not be allies with. Additionally, your allies can shift through the game, as some of these cards will cause you to trade allegiances.
Okay.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know.
Very interesting. So then you're stuck with whoever has been working on the other ally and trying to move them after somebody's already been trying to put them in the correct position.
That's true. That can definitely be the case. You can misread your opponents and think, oh, well, I bet the dragon leader's going to be at the top at the end of this round. And because of that, I'm going to play this card and be completely wrong. And you could ship your leader right into the position where they're going to lose some honor.
Sounds like a move I would make.
That's a move I make constantly.
So this game, you can bide your time after you already have your 12 honor. What is the play time for this game then?
It's right around 25 to 30 minutes. It's a pretty standard length for a social deduction game. It's no coup, 15-minute like lightning rounds, and it's right in there with like the Resistance, a nice 30-minute experience.
Okay. And it plays up to how many people?
It plays up to 6 players, and you need at least 3 to play.
Excellent. And what is the age range for the game? Who's going to be the target market? Who do you really see playing the game?
Target market is people who are a little bit more experienced with social deduction games, people who have played their coup, played their Resistance, maybe some Don't Mess with Cthulhu, another phenomenal Indie Boards and Cards title. But nothing too young. We've had some kids come by the booth who were playing at 10, and they were great, but any younger than that's probably a little bit too young.
Fair enough. Anything else in particular that we should know about Shogun?
Man, let me tell you, it's a great game, and we'd love to see you by the Origins booth for Indie Boards and Cards so we can let you demo it. It's a fun game.
Sounds good to me. So, aside from Shogun, you've brought me another game to take a peek at.
Well, I don't know if we can talk about that. It's a Gen Con release.
But please,
it's a
Joy.
Gen Con. Okay, fine. I'm a pushover. So we have coming out at Gen Con this year, Exodus, Paris Nouveau, the newest game in the social deduction library in the dystopian universe for Indie Boards and Cards.
Okay.
So this is meant to be your next step after you've played Coup, after you've played the Resistance.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had a lot of retailers coming to us saying, it's really easy for me to sell a copy of Coup to someone who's new to board gaming.
Okay.
We get a lot of people into stores who say, hobby gaming is becoming really, really popular.
Right.
But a lot of people don't know what it's about. And so they go to their friendly local game store, which is exactly what everybody in the industry would tell you to do.
Absolutely.
And they ask, what's a good game?
Right.
What's something I can play? And you get a lot of people saying like, oh, Catan's a nice gateway, or maybe you'd like Pandemic. And Coup is often on that list because it's a really comfortable price point for people to feel like they weren't bamboozled into a $90 Euro game they're never going to understand.
Right.
It was $12. Nobody feels like they've gotten cheated. The store owner probably just laid out the game for them right there and said, this is how you play, and they walked away going, awesome,
I can do
great.
this.
Exactly. I can do this. I can teach this game. Not only can I play, I can teach this to my friends.
Fantastic.
So they go home, they play their Coup, they play some games. A couple weeks later, they come back and say, what's next?
Give me more.
The Resistance is a great next step. And so the same thing happens. It's a nice, easy price point. But then they come back after that and say, well,
I'm really enjoying this kind of experience.
This kind of experience. But I want something a little meatier.
Okay.
And that was a gap in our library. So we worked together with Martin Wallace to create his first social deduction game.
Okay.
Oh, I know. Called Exodus Paris Nouveau. And it actually gave us an opportunity to do some more exploration into the dystopian universe.
Okay.
So as you know, the dystopian universe is made up of the valiant resistance fighting against a corrupted, evil government that are just trying to shake off the yoke of oppression.
Fair enough.
So, in Exodus, we got to dig a little bit deeper into that and tell you the story of a couple other groups. So
Okay.
the Resistance is not just some rabble-rousers who are unorganized. They're an extremely organized multinational group. And the government's pretty ruthless. So in Exodus, you are either a rescuer, the highest and most trained extraction operative the Resistance has to offer. If you're
Okay.
a compromised agent in a city such as Paris Nouveau, they will send in the rescuers to get you out of there.
Oh, so you're a particular sect of the Resistance.
Correct.
Okay.
Or you're a hunter. Hunters are the highly trained government operatives that are infiltrators. They're the
Okay.
people who usually corrupt or compromise the agents that are in these cities. So in your midst, there are hunters. And hopefully you are a rescuer. You have no idea who's on your team in Exodus. Unlike the Resistance, where spies know who each other are, and Resistance members are just like frantically trying to figure out who may or may not be
Be
on
a
their
spy.
team. Exactly. Who might be a spy. In Exodus, nobody knows. And it's even teams. This plays 4 to 6 players. So at 4, 2 and 2. At 6, 3 and 3. And at 5, 3 and 2. And nobody knows who has
Which way
the
that
extra player.
swings.
Exactly.
Okay.
So unlike Coup, where you're just trying to pass white lies, and unlike the Resistance, where you may have to get up on your soapbox and give your really impassioned speech about why it's not you. I am not the spy. It's her. It always has been. How could you have not seen?
John's always a spy. That's how you know. I've played enough social deduction
No,
games
no.
to know that that's how that goes.
So in Exodus, you're going to have to deal with a little more mechanical nuance as to where your deduction is going to be.
Okay.
And where your deception might be made or broken.
Okay.
In Exodus, you have a finite number of voting tokens to elect your leaders for rounds, or your tail end Charlies, the rear guard of your group.
Okay.
And these voting tokens do not replenish throughout the game. So if I vote with 3 now, I really just make sure that you're going to be the leader because I trust you, because I think you're on my team. I'm never going to get those tokens back. Which leads to some interesting situations of, well, why did you vote that way? That's a very, there's no just, well, I suppose I'll vote like this. Voting is always very purposeful in Exodus. And then throughout the game, you may be forced to play cards for a team that isn't your own. And you may be forced into a situation of the best of 2 pretty bad options, which could feel bad. You have to take 2 cards off of a random assortment and choose which one is better for my group, but neither one of them may be very good.
What kinds of situations are you running into where you're talking about choosing one of 2 cards?
So the game is played by laying cards in a track. The win conditions are either the hunters catch up to the rescuers by having their distance number meet or exceed the rescuers.
Okay.
If the game gets to the end of 7 turns, whichever team has more victory points, denotated on cards that are laid in the track, that team would win.
Okay.
If any team member dies on certain distance cards, you can lose health. You have 2 health. If any team member dies, that team will lose. And if the cover representing how hidden the rescuers are from the hunters is ever stripped away, the hunters win. So you're laying these cards out in the track, and your leader is going to always lay the card for the rescuers. But your Taylor and Charlie is going to have to lay a card for the hunters.
Regardless of what identity that person has.
Regardless of what identity that person has.
Okay.
So the leader, who gets passed cards from other players and then randomly, or chooses which ones they'd like before looking at them, randomly shuffles them, adds a card from the top of the distance pile deck, and then discards one, has to choose from however many cards are in their hand at that point which one they want to play in their track.
Okay.
And hopefully you had really great team members who gave you exactly what they said they were giving you, and they were really good cards.
That's not how social deduction
But
games
that's
work.
not how social deduction games often go. So you could be put in a situation where you, I have 3 cards that are all awful. This one kills me. This one has 1 distance, and the hunters catch up. Well, this one, we're gonna lose a cover, and it only gets us 3 distance up. So you play it and you say, well, that's the best there was, guys. And everybody else goes, yeah, sure,
right.
yeah, cool, fine. Yep, it was the best. Sure it was. And it gets even trickier when you're the Tail and Charlie, because the Tail and Charlie's job is to just take 2 random cards off the top of the deck and make the same decision, but for the hunters.
Okay.
So you could be forced into a situation where it's like, all right, here's 3 victory points and 5 distance for the hunters. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, guys. Sure you didn't. So the game is really interesting in that it provides you some inherent cover. In the Resistance and in Coup, you're pretty much basing your lies or your deceptions on as much as you can get people to believe about you.
Right.
Where in Exodus, there is some mechanical inherent cover. I only had 2 cards, guys. I only had 2. This one was the best. I tried my best, but this is what it's going to be. Or was it? So that is our Gen Con release.
Awesome.
You can pick up your copy at Gen Con. Keep your eyes on the internet for reviewers. They're going to hands of people right now, so you can go for a little more in-depth review.
Interesting.
Yes. Pick up your copy at Gen Con. And then after that, in the following weeks, it will be going straight to brick-and-mortar retailers. Your friendly local game stores.
It's the best place to go.
Exactly. It's the best place to go. It's the only place you're going to be able to find it after Gen Con.
So is this game in the same range as far as price point as the other 2?
Yes, it is. It is a $20 price point.
Crazy.
We love to see that at Indie Boards and Cards. This game usually runs just a tick longer than Coup or the Resistance. Excuse me, not a tick longer than Coup. It's a good deal longer than Coup. But the Resistance usually runs, that 30-minute mark. Exodus is a good 40, 45, but it's a really sweet experience with a smaller group. We found a lot of people that love the Resistance feel like, well, I don't have 8 people, so I'm not even going to play.
Okay,
Where
right.
Exodus is a 4 to 6 range, and it plays great in that tight range.
Fantastic. Well, John, thank you very much for taking your time to come on and show us the games that Indie Boards and Cards has already and has coming out.
Oh, I'm so excited for it.
Really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.